Hello everyone, welcome back. And to those of you who are thinking about or have been doing some drywall repairs at home and you're not sure which tape to choose, you've got your paper and you've got your fiberglass mesh. I'm going to tell you which application I would use each for, which I think is better. And then before the end of the video, I'm going to introduce a third option that I think is better than both of these. So just stay with me and I'm going to take you over to the workbench. Okay, here we are with the paper and with the mesh. Now, what most drywallers use for the majority of the applications is the paper. And there's a couple of benefits here with the paper. Let's just tear a piece off. First, it's easy to tear just with your hands. That's the first thing. The other thing is it's got this great little crease in it, so that way if you're doing your drywalling corners, right, you can easily put this in the corner. And I would say that this would be my number one choice for the corners no matter what. I wouldn't use the mesh or the third option I'm going to show you in a moment. This would be my number one choice for the corners. So what the other thing is that what this thing is typically better for is whenever there's a structural situation and you've got maybe a beam, or you've got something happening, you're over a doorway, let's say, and you don't want the crack to come back, you might want to use paper. And the mesh, one of the benefits of this is that it's sticky on the back, so you can just stick it right in the spot, and then you take your tape knife and put the spackle right over it. Where this one, you got to put a little bit of a layer underneath first, so it's got something to adhere to before you then run your tape knife back over it and smooth it all out. In both situations, after you do your first coat and lay it there, you're going to want to let the first bit of it dry up. You want to make sure that it dries adhered, because if you put too much over it, especially the paper, it's going to absorb too much moisture, and then in this one you could see it start to bubble in some instances, and some would say, well, if you're not doing it right, then it'll bubble. But I've seen it quite often where you put too much spackle over this and then it starts to bubble up on you. It's one of the things I don't like about the paper. Now this you'd use for small patches, holes, things like that, where you want to bridge a gap and you don't want to be replacing little pieces of drywall in there. You can use this for that application. The one thing that I don't like about this fiberglass is it's a little thicker, and you tend to have to put on a little bit more and feather it out farther, so that way you don't see this down the road in the future. Okay, so again, this is the one that's typically used by professionals. It's also a little bit less expensive, and this one is for more of spot repairs in areas that are not structural. Now I'm going to show you that third option that I use now as often as I can, and that is this new fiberglass. It's not new. Some of you will say it's been around for a while, but most people don't use it. It's called fiberglass, and this is fiberglass also, but the difference is it is a full sheet here. It doesn't have the holes that this one does, where you can kind of wiggle it back and forth, and it's not that structurally sound, right? It could move. Now this one, it's not going to do that. This is as solid, if not more solid, than the paper. It's really thin too. So it's as thin as the paper. It goes on like the paper, and you put a small layer first, and then you put this over the top. This thing rips easily too. You put this over the top, putty knife over it, wait for it a little bit for it to dry, and then you go back over it again. Now I'm going to show you a spot repair, a situation I had in a ceiling, and I did a video on it, and I'll link to it up here, and where I used this stuff, and this was a few years ago, and I'm going to take you inside right now so you can see what happened. So we are here now. This is an area where it goes from the living room to the dining room, and there's a beam over the top, and for years I had a crack going from here out to here, and I would repair it and repair it. I've used the paper. It was a constant repair situation, and it could never get fixed. Then a few years ago, I used fiberglass, and the crack has never come back. This is the same way it was since I did the repair, except for painting. obviously over the spackle. I repainted the whole ceiling, but this crack has never come back, and this is a structural area. There's settling going on, and still the crack has never come back, and that's with the fiberglass. So this stuff is totally worth it. Now, I haven't seen it in Home Depot or Lowe's. I buy it on Amazon. I'm going to link to it down below. You do get a lot. It is a little bit more expensive, but believe me, it's totally worth it. You're going to be amazed at it, and you're going to be glad that you bought it. It's going to last you a while if you're just a homeowner. If you are a contractor, I would give it a shot, and you might find yourself using this not in every application, because I think if you're doing a big project, hanging drywall, you're probably going to use the paper in most situations. But in some of those structural areas, those challenging areas where you don't want to have to come back and fix something, you might want to use this instead. So if you have any questions at all about the paper versus the fiberglass, mesh versus this stuff, just let me know down below in the comments. I've used this quite a bit and really love it, and I've introduced this to some drywalling companies, and now they are starting to use it in certain applications too. I hope this video helped you. Hope you found it to be interesting. Hit that like button if it did. Thanks very much, everyone, and I hope you tune into the next video.